I'm 18 years old and I'm living in the city of Dallas, Texas. I'm a young man on my own, living in Dallas, Texas, and I'm working at a place called Zack's Framing. It's custom craft and framing. It's kind of like a Michaels. And everybody around me were becoming supervisors. And then when they become supervisors, they would get hired by Michael and they'd leave. And so they get paid big money if they became a supervisor. And I did work better than them. I did framing work better than them. I've worked there from the beginning. I helped open up the store. I mean, I did more stuff, but I kept being overlooked. I was marginalized. And they kept overlooking me. And I kept showing them, look how good I am. Look, I can do this. I do this better than them. And my supervisor was coming to me asking me, how do you do this? At first, I thought he were testing me, but he wasn't testing me. He didn't know. He didn't know what I knew, techniques, systems, processes, and procedures. In such a short amount of time, I was able to perfect them and purify them, correct them. So when you have the anointing of God on you, you're always going to do something better than what other people do. God always has a better plan and path for you. But they kept overlooking me. And so all the tough projects, the big tough projects they would give to me because they knew that I'd get it done right. But they wouldn't make me a supervisor, didn't give me a pay raise. And it wasn't like I was there for a long time. I just kept being overlooked. Everybody was new. I was there from the very beginning. It was only a year old, not even. But they kept passing me by. And one day, one of the guys that worked with me, he went to go get some acetone, which is like a little acid. And he went to go take it to go wipe down a frame. And he decided to pour the acetone in a styrofoam cup. Well, for those of you who know, you put acetone in a styrofoam cup, it's just going to eat through the bottom of the cup. And it ate through the bottom of the cup and it went into a box. And on the box, the box happened to be a bunch of packing sleeves of styrofoam, and they were all upright like this in the box, and that acid hit all the styrofoam and started eating away the styrofoam. And when I looked at him, I said, you idiot. That's what I thought. But when I looked at it, I saw this incredible pattern that was being made by these little styrofoam sheets, these little sheets of styrofoam that were made by the acid. So I pulled the sheets out, and to me, I saw them in 3D, and I'm an artist, so I began to look at them with the eyes of an artist, and I began to create this artwork that was just beautiful. You know, it looked like coral reefs. I put different colors and different types of textures on it, and I made it look like coral reefs, look like fish and so forth. And I made some of the bends and some of the curls and some of the mountains and valleys that were inside these little sheets, and I made them look so beautiful and painted them beautiful blues and turquoises and yellows and reds. And when you looked at it, it was like a beautiful little cave dwelling. And I stacked them together, made it look like it was a cave, and I shadow boxed it, which is I made it into a 3-dimensional framing structure. And I hung it on the wall. It was about 24 by 24 inches, and I hung it on the wall. And this thing was so beautiful. And everybody looked at it and says, "What in the world are you doing?" And I said, I'm just making something real quick. I had the spare time. And it was like my little side project. And I put this project together, and everybody said, "This thing looks like it belongs in a museum. This looks like an expensive piece of art." So what I did is I decided to put a price tag on it, and I priced it for $499. And I hung it out with all the other artwork that was selling for $39 and $49. But I put this thing up as $499. I just put it on there thinking nobody would ever pay for this frame. And with my spare time, I started doing some more because there was a lot of styrofoams that were messed up. Then I started playing with what acid did to styrofoam, and I began to make these things. I put them up there, $499. And one day, maybe about 2 weeks after the first one went up, someone came to me and says, "Hey, Clark, can you help me out? I'm having a hard time finding the code for this piece that I'm trying to sell." When I go to the cash register, someone was trying to buy my $499 picture. Well, I was kind of shocked because I thought to myself, oh my gosh, someone's trying to buy this $499. How they're going to buy it? There's no code on it. There's no way that anybody can pay for it. It's just completely, it's not in the books. So the owner of the store happened to be there, and he owned about 15 to 20 of these stores. So when he came by, they said, "What's going on?" And he said, "This is what's happening." And he says, "Well, how much is it? $499. So he went ahead. He knew better than to ignore it. And he went ahead and manually overrid on the cash register, put $499, charged them taxes and everything, and then looked at the artwork and said, "Take all these down." So where'd these come from? I thought, now I'm in trouble. And I went ahead and confessed. I said, "Well, I I did it because I knew everybody was going to out me. He says, you did this. Nobody wanted to even turn me in, and nobody wanted to accept blame. And I went in and I said, sir, I did it. I made that. And he goes, are you kidding me? You charge $4.99? And there was somebody else at the register who wanted to buy the second piece at $4.99. And so he took out a commission of the $4.99 and he gave me a few $100s from it. And he says, make me some more of these, but price it at $99, not $4.99. And then he made me a supervisor. And then he asked me questions. And then at the Christmas party, I was the head of the pack. And there's always something that you're going to end up doing, and you do not know that it is that thing that's going to set you out above the pack.